Stop scrolling. You felt that, didn't you? That hollow ache behind your ribs, that quiet screaming at 2 a.m. when you realize you've spent another day performing, another day shape-shifting into whoever people needed you to be, another day bleeding your attention dry for people who wouldn't even notice if you vanished. Here's the truth they don't teach you in self-help books or motivational speeches. You're not exhausted because life is hard. You're exhausted because you're addicted to everyone except yourself, and that addiction is killing you slowly. Let's begin. 1. The lie they fed you. Society sold you a beautiful poison. They told you self-love is gentle, a warm bath, a yoga retreat, positive affirmations whispered into a mirror while candles flicker. Nonsense. Real self-love is ugly. Real self-love is violent. Real self-love requires you to look in the mirror and confront the parasite that's been living inside your chest, the part of you that desperately needs strangers to approve of your existence. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who stared into the abyss longer than anyone, discovered something terrifying. He called it participation mystique, a primitive state of psychological fusion where you don't know where you end and other people begin. You think you're being kind, you think you're being empathetic. You're not, you're entangled. You're spiritually bleeding out while handing strangers the tourniquet and begging them not to use it. Look at your phone right now. Go ahead, scroll. Every like, every message, every notification, that's a leash. And you're wagging your tail every time someone tugs it. Jung understood something most therapists are too afraid to say. You will never be free until you commit an act of inner treason. You have to cross a line. You have to become so utterly obsessively addicted to your own internal world that the external world loses its power to move you. 2. The weight of a man. Let me tell you about my friend Bruce. Bruce was the guy everyone loved, always available, always laughing at jokes that weren't funny, always staying late to help coworkers who never once asked how he was doing. He thought he was building relationships. He was building chains. One night, his girlfriend of 3 years left him. 3 days later, his boss fired him for performance issues. The same boss who had been piling everyone else's work onto Bruce's desk for 2 years. Bruce sat in his dark apartment, phone in hand, scrolling through contacts. Nobody called, nobody texted, nobody even noticed he'd stopped existing. He told me later that was the moment something inside him snapped, not broke, snapped, like a rubber band finally releasing after being stretched too far. He deleted every social media app. He turned off his phone for 30 days. He sat in that dark apartment and did something most men will never have the courage to do. He asked himself one question: who am I when nobody's watching? The answer almost destroyed him. He realized he was nobody. He had spent 30 years becoming a mirror for other people's expectations. There was no Bruce underneath, just a collection of performances stacked on top of each other like a house of cards. That's the moment Jung's real work begins. Not with comfort, with collapse. 3. The shadow you're running from. Jung said every man has a shadow. The basement where you throw everything society taught you to be ashamed of. Your rage, your selfishness, your dark desires, your capacity for cruelty, your animal hunger for power. You spend your life locking that basement door and pretending it doesn't exist. But here's what Jung discovered that changed everything. The shadow doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It grows. It gains power. It starts leaking out in ways you can't control. Sudden explosions of anger, irrational jealousy, self-sabotage right when success is within reach. You know that feeling, when everything's going right and suddenly you pick a fight with someone you love. That's your shadow. That's the monster you refuse to acknowledge. Now driving the car. Jung did something insane in 1913. He'd just been excommunicated by Sigmund Freud, his mentor, his father figure, the man who was supposed to hand him the throne of psychoanalysis. Jung lost everything: his reputation, his colleagues, his purpose. Most men would have broken. Jung locked himself in his study. He sat at his desk, and he invited the madness in. He wrote down his visions. He spoke to the figures that emerged from his unconscious. He met a warrior named Siegfried and killed him in his imagination. He met an old prophet named Philemon who taught him things he'd never learned in any university. This became the Red Book, a manuscript so dark, so personal, that Jung's own family hid it in a bank vault for decades because they were afraid of what it would do to his reputation. Here's what Jung understood that you don't. The monster in your basement is not your enemy. The monster is the source of your power. Your rage, properly channeled, becomes unbreakable boundaries. Your selfishness, properly directed, becomes self-respect. Your capacity for manipulation, properly understood, becomes strategic intelligence. You want to be addicted to yourself? Stop running from the parts of you that scare you. Sit down with them, interview them, ask them what they want. I did this myself 3 years ago. I sat in a cheap apartment with no furniture except a mattress and a laptop. I'd just ended a business partnership that was making me money but killing my soul. I wrote down every dark thought I'd been too ashamed to admit. I want to be richer than everyone who doubted me. I want to be so successful that my ex sees my face everywhere. I want to crush my competition, not compete with them. Writing that felt like poison leaving my body. But here's what happened next. The poison turned into fuel. Every late night working became pleasure, not pain. Because I wasn't working for approval anymore. I was working to feed the beast I'd finally acknowledged. 4. The addiction protocol. You want practical steps? Here they are. No fluff, no meditation apps, no vision boards. Step 1. Starve the external. For 7 days, you stop seeking validation. No posting on social media. No texting first. No explaining yourself. No defending your choices. No complaining to friends so they'll comfort you. You become a ghost to anyone who isn't standing directly in front of you. Your brain will scream. You'll feel like you're suffocating. That's withdrawal. That's the addiction leaving your system. Step 2. Feed the internal. Every time you want to check who viewed your story, you open a notebook and write one question. What am I avoiding right now? Every time you want to text someone who isn't texting you, you spend that same energy on one physical action. Push-ups, cold shower, organizing your workspace. You redirect the craving into creation. Step 3. Court the shadow. Make a list of 10 things you've never told anyone, not because they're criminal, because they're embarrassing, because they reveal who you really are underneath the performance. I'm jealous of my best friend's success. I don't actually love my job. I stayed in that relationship because I was afraid to be alone. Read that list out loud to yourself. Don't judge it, just witness it. This is the material your real self is made of. Step 4. Become the idol. Think of the person you're most obsessed with, the one whose approval you crave, the one whose attention would make you feel complete. Now isolate the specific trait you're chasing. Confidence, power, freedom, discipline. That trait is not outside you. That trait is your own unexpressed potential that you've projected onto them. Jung called this the anima or animus, the inner opposite that you refuse to embody. Stop chasing them. Become them. Every morning ask yourself, what would the version of me who already has that trait do today? Then do it, not for recognition, for integration. 5. The shift. Here's what happens when you actually do this. You stop being impressed by people who used to intimidate you. You walk into rooms and feel the energy change, not because you're doing anything different, but because you've stopped leaking power. Your silence becomes heavier than other people's words. Your presence becomes a question they can't answer. People will start asking what you're on. They'll sense something shifted, but they won't be able to name it. They'll offer you things, time, attention, opportunities, things you used to beg for, and you'll look at their offerings with calm disinterest because you no longer need them. That's not arrogance, that's integration. That's the difference between a man who's performing and a man who's complete. Jung called this process individuation, becoming a single, indivisible whole, not perfect, not enlightened, whole, capable of love and rage, generosity and selfishness, discipline and spontaneity. The world doesn't reward nice people. The world rewards integrated people, because integrated people can't be manipulated. You can't shame someone who's already made peace with their darkness. You can't guilt someone who's stopped needing your approval. You can't control someone who's become the source of their own validation. 6. The final cut. Remember Bruce? After 30 days of silence, he didn't go back to his old life. He started a small consulting business. Not because he was passionate about consulting, because he needed to prove to himself that he could build something without anyone's permission. In the first year was brutal. He made almost no money. His old friends thought he'd lost his mind. His ex heard what he was doing and laughed. Bruce didn't care, because somewhere in that dark apartment, he'd met his shadow. He'd sat with his fear of failure, his rage at being discarded, his hunger for revenge, and instead of running, he'd asked each one, "What do you want to teach me?" Failure taught him humility. Rage taught him discipline. Revenge taught him ambition. Year 2, his business doubled. Year 3, it doubled again. Not because he got lucky, because he stopped leaking energy into relationships that didn't serve him. He stopped explaining himself. He stopped apologizing for existing. He became addicted to his own evolution. And here's the thing about addiction: it's not sustainable to dabble. You can't casually become obsessed with yourself. You have to go all in. You have to treat your own mind like a casino and refuse to place bets anywhere else. The people who change the world don't balance their lives. They burn everything that doesn't feed their fire. Jung burned his relationship with Freud. He burned his reputation. He burned his security. And from those ashes, he built a psychology that's still challenging people 100 years later. What are you willing to burn? 7. The mirror. Look at your life right now. Every relationship where you're performing instead of being. Every habit that exists to numb instead of build. Every person whose opinion matters more than your own internal compass. That's the addiction. That's the parasite. You can keep feeding it, keep checking your phone, keep seeking approval, keep bending yourself into shapes that please people who wouldn't cross the street to attend your funeral. Or you can do what Jung did. Lock the door, face the darkness. Pull your energy back from everyone who's been stealing it, and become so utterly, terrifyingly fascinated by your own becoming that the world has no choice but to shift around you. The choice is yours, but know this: the version of you who doesn't make this choice is already dead. He's just taken a long time to fall down. Become addicted to yourself, not tomorrow. Now, everything else is just noise. Thank you for watching. If you're still here, you already know the mainstream is lying to you. The real stuff, the stuff they don't want you to see, that's waiting for you on Patreon right now. Uncensored videos, hidden truths, and raw content I can't post here. Join the few who actually know what's going on. Link is in the description. I'll see you on the inside.